My name is Charlotte MacQuarrie, and I've been a member of First United Church here in Truro since I was 7 years old, and now I am one of the oldest in the congregation. I've been involved in many of the committees and boards of the congregation, and so I know the church very well, and I've enjoyed the ministers and our music particularly. I was in the choir for several years. So I want to tell you a bit more about the background of the church, because the history of the church and community was one starting out. It was all one group of government. They built a church and in the cemetery, which is now Roby Street Cemetery. Their first church was there, and eventually the town separated and formed their own government, and since then the church has carried on its own program as well. When the first British settlers, and they were all Presbyterians, arrived from New England and Ireland, set in the town of Truro in 1761, they established a community history of their faith in this community for the next 250 years. Their first church minister from Scotland and the church were in place by 1772. This building and the cemetery were situated where now Roby Street Cemetery stands, and where some of the original settlers' gravestones remain there, including those of the first three ministers, Reverends Cock, Waddell, and McCullough. All three ministering a combined total of 149 years. With strong leadership and faith in hard times leading up to and during World War II, the trustees overcame the challenge of planning a new church to seat a growing congregation. By the end of 1913, they had an architect's plan and a contract to build the church to seat 1,000 people. In 1916, an opening service was enthusiastically celebrated. The building is still standing proudly as a large, imposing Georgian-style brick church with its 143-foot steeple, large windows, and a front stone entablature. And the church was built by Frank MacQuarrie, a member of the church and a builder of many of the fine Victorian homes noted for Truro. Music has been a strong tradition since early years, with the cassavant organ and pipes having been a major part of the service. I was in the choir and enjoyed it for many years, from my teenage up to when I stopped singing. The choir has been active, and the whole program of music in the church is very outstanding, with many choirs doing their practicing in the church hall and performing in mass choirs regularly. When in the early years, the congregation filled the church for both morning and evening services, and large Sunday schools gathered in the church hall. I was here then. I remember I didn't go to church both times, but I was there in the morning regularly with my family. When in the early church, the congregation filled the church, both morning and evening services, and large Sunday schools gathered in the church hall. In 2012, over 100 years of countless services and use of both church and hall, the congregation was faced with a major restoration at $1 million cost. Of course, I was involved in this too, and we had an arrangement with the Heritage Trust of Canada, to put on a competition with other heritage buildings across Canada, and one that got the most votes from the network would get a prize of $160,000. The restoration was successful. Today, First United is home to almost 400 families, but its arms surround far more than that. The building is used by many different organizations within the arts for concerts and recitals. Its doors have been opened to people of all faiths to provide a space during times of great loss. Many local artists have gone to make their mark in the national stage, and their journey was nurtured and supported in this building. Dr. Wade Brown, who was a heritage officer in Halifax for the province, was here when our church became a heritage designated church, both town-wise and government-wise, Nova Scotia government-wise. His comments are, First United Church is an exceptionally rare example of a colonial revival church building. Its unique style is a valuable contribution to Canada's architectural heritage.